Hey, good morning, everybody out there in the old YouTube world. Another episode of Vinyl Village Garage. Got a little cold here in Indiana. I woke up this morning about 42 degrees, not warm. Anyway, so you see the old sweatshirt back on here. It's a little brisk, but we'll get over that. What I have to share today is I had a link on all my videos, an email address, so to speak. You can actually hit me up if you got any questions or comments or thoughts or ideas you want to share. The question was, where does the convertible floor bracing mount on a first-gen F-body car? Well, doing a little research, not a lot of good information out there. I didn't see anything that really gave me the confidence that maybe you're looking for. So I have the numbers that I've used to build Project LeBron's, the Transmerado, and I even have a perfect example of a car. Actually, now that I look at it, kind of looks like I was doing a really cool Pontiac torque-induced wheel stand, with the exception of it's the wrong side. Besides all that, I have an example of a car, unrestored. No one's done anything with this car besides do a paint job somewhere in the early 80s. So I can tell you all the measurements on the floor bracing of this car should be pretty accurate how General Motors assembled this car from the factory. So we're going to climb under here, get those measurements. I'll try to translate them on the old dry erase board. You can write those down in case you're trying to replace your own floor pans at home in your garage, so you know which way to go. So let's climb under here, see what we can find out. All right, well, let's get down here and get down to business. Now, what I've typically done in the past, it normally works pretty good for me, is this body plug here. Well, the bottom of this one's ripped out a little bit, but let's say it was still a nice radius. You start from here, then measure to the leading edge of the brace, right, well, it's kind of hard to see because of the undercoating, but let's say that you can kind of make it out. But the leading edge of this brace to this opening is about 7 3/4 to 8 inches. Normally gets you really close, but I think we can do a little better. I've always set them that way. It's always worked out pretty nice, but I want to do a little more better, I guess, more accurate measuring. So in case, you want to get it exactly spot on, we can do that. So I think the best way to do it, which hides behind this panel, is the very front edge of this floor pan. And actually it's 1 inch further from this notch here. That's the starting edge of the floor pan. So if you were installing a new floor pan, drop your tape measure on that, pull it straight back on this pinch weld. Where does this line up? That's the numbers that I want to give to you. And then once you get this one set, from this leading edge back to the next one, where does it go? So those are the numbers that I want to give to you. And then here's the cool thing is if you get everything all right and you actually have a center console car, if you look up above the shifter here, above the transmission, I'll get you in here, it's kind of tight. If you can see right there in front of my finger, there's a little stud sticking through. Another one over there. Get you in here, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see both of them. There's two studs sticking through that brace. That is the rear of the automatic shifter on a console car. So if you get all your spacing right, those will also poke through that and mount into that brace. And the other thing is when doing the floor pan, if you're putting these pieces in, my car is missing the X brace. I will probably purchase one, but go ahead and mount that loosely as you're putting it together. That way, the most important part when you're done, these 6 bolt holes that brace mounts to, well, they got to line up. That's probably the most critical thing when it comes down to, I guess, getting things right. But like I said, I'll get you the measurement from front to back. That way you can get these things set up right. First measure we're going to take from the front up there, from the leading edge of the floor pan to where this brace comes across the floor. 22 3/8. Now, that's assuming that your brace is the exact dimensions of General Motors' original production. Well, it may not be, but that'll get you really close. So 22 and, when I get it nice and square, 22 3/8. Now let's go from this brace to the one back here, and it should be about 12.5 inches, but let's just find out. Right there. Now get your perspective. Underneath the car, looking up the rocker panel, hook that front edge of the leading brace, then come back here to the back one, and right at 12.5 inches where the next one starts. Now keep in mind, I'm no artist here by any stretch of imagination, but I wanted to kind of at least help you out a little more than by just grabbing a camera and a tape measure under the car, maybe help you visualize these dimensions a little better. Now like I said, use your imagination. I am no artist. These are maybe looks like hieroglyphics or some kind of drawing. I have no idea, but hopefully this helps you out. I got 4 dimensions here, A, B, C, and D. I guess what I'd like to say is this is like the side of the rocker panel or the pinch weld. This is the side of the car that everything attaches to. So this is a floor pan see-through one at that, which is pretty cool. But the idea is there's a cross brace that kind of makes a shape like this. And this is like looking straight down at it, like a very generic drawing, but hope you visualize it here. But this is the leading edge or front of the car. If you're to hook a tape measure on that front edge, dimension A is going to be from here to the leading edge of the front brace. Well, this is kind of the same thing. Dimension A is from here to here. That should be 22 3/8. That was the measurement I took right off that car there in the driveway. The next measurement is going to be from the leading edge of brace A, or first brace, to here. So I'm going to call this one the front and then the rear. Front brace to rear brace. So the leading edge, so here to the leading edge of this one is dimension B, and it is 12.5. Clearly not the scale. But so dimension A, 22 3/8, leading edge. Dimension B, front edge to front edge, 12.5. Dimension C is going to be from the top of the transmission tunnel, tape measure hooked on that, to the leading edge of that brace on the transmission tunnel. So that is dimension C, 18 3/4. That'll get you real close. Another checkpoint, as I showed you in the video, if you have an automatic center console car, time you install that console, you'll drill right through the leading edge, that lip of that brace, if you got it right. So kind of a checkpoint. Now, dimension D, that was the one I always used when I did all this before. I didn't really get crazy with the rest of the numbers, but I like having these. I'm going to share them with you, but there's 2 body plugs on the floor pans. I used to always hook a tape measure here and run it to there. That's dimension D, 7 3/4. That gets you really close in all this stuff. But these are other numbers that can get you, make sure you got 100% right. And the last step, if tackling this job, installing all new bracing, which is 3 pieces, 1, 2, 3, attaching it to a new floor pan, there's an X brace that bolts to the center of this. Kind of illustrated here and here. There's 6 bolts. I would recommend putting that panel on, loosely allow that panel to float as you attach this thing, all the bracing to the floor pan, because in the end, all these numbers are dead on. If that brace is shifted a little bit and you can't get the bolts through, well, it's not going to do you any good. So I would recommend putting that panel on there. Leave the bolts loose though, and get everything all set into place, then weld it. So use these measurements, put that X brace on, and I'll say you should have really good results of installing this floor pan yourself in the garage. So wanted to share these numbers with you. Had a couple people asking what I used, how I put them in there. Well, honestly, I've always just used the body plug hole here and made a go of it. But now that I've got some better numbers, I'm going to use those for the future. But I checked the Transmarado. We're within 1/8 of an inch. So dropping it through that body plug gets you pretty close. So as with any body panel, we're assuming that there's tolerance for manufacturer specs and age, but I'd say plus or minus 1/8 inch either way gives you a 1/4 inch tolerance. Should get you pretty close to make this thing work and have a go of it. So I wanted to share this with you. All you DIYers or folks think you want to try to conquer this stuff in your garage, it can be done. I'm doing it here, having a lot of fun sharing the information with you. And of course, any more questions like this, I'll see if I can help you out and fill in the blanks, because if I can keep you inspired to keep these cars going, you're going to help me keep all of them back on the road. And that's the goal here. Share the knowledge, keep these cars running, and you get to have some fun playing in the garage. So if you'd like to see this process done, of basically replacing a floor pan in a 2-car garage, Project LeBron's just about finishing that one up. If you've not seen any of those episodes yet, check it out here. I'll link here, take you to the whole series of events I've done for this car. So of course, appreciate you following us on this journey. And of course, if you like what you see, please subscribe. Love to help me out with saying thanks by subscribing. So get back to some other projects here, and we'll see you next time.